You could be having a normal day, working, studying, trying to be a mature person. Then out of nowhere a song comes on. A name shows up, you pass a familiar place, and suddenly it feels like your heart just got knocked down in public. Even worse, on the outside you still look completely fine. But on the inside that old movie has already started playing again. Like your brain keeps bringing it back as if it were some huge box office hit. Meanwhile, there is always someone ready with the amazing advice. Just move on. Right, great idea, almost like nobody ever thought of that before. The problem is, if it were really that simple, nobody would be lying awake at night staring at the ceiling like the universe is about to send an answer. So stay with me until the end, because the way a lot of people try to get over someone is exactly what keeps that person living in their head rent-free. Today the question is simple, but it hurts. How do you get over someone you still love? This is the Suit Guy, and before anything else, let me give you one truth that might actually make you feel a little better. Moving on is not the same as forgetting. Nobody pushes a button, drinks a glass of water, and wakes up emotionally healed like a medicine commercial. What really happens is that your mind keeps treating that person like they were the best thing that ever happened to you, when in reality they were just part of your life, not the final destination of your whole existence. Here comes the annoying part that actually helps. A lot of the time you are not just missing the person, you are missing how you felt when everything seemed to be working. Maybe it was the feeling of being important, having someone there, having someone to text, getting a good morning message that felt real, having plans for the weekend, and having a nice little fantasy to call the future. That is when your brain does what it does best. It grabs a few good memories, adds a dramatic soundtrack, and cuts out all the parts where you felt anxious, waited for a reply, tried to decode silence, walked on eggshells, and accepted crumbs dressed up like a full meal. That is why the first step is very simple. Open the Notes app on your phone and make 2 lists. On one, write what I miss. On the other, write what I do not miss. Do not try to sound nice. This list is not a resume. It is first aid. Put down comfort, affection, attention, routine, but also slow replies, confusion, insecurity, and trying way too hard just to get the bare minimum. When the nostalgia shows up all dressed up trying to look like perfect love, that second list will bring you back to reality. Another thing that keeps a lot of people stuck is quietly keeping up with that person and pretending it means nothing. Nobody says it out loud, but checking a profile is basically like poking a bruise to see if it still hurts. And the amazing part is, it absolutely does every single time with impressive consistency. Every time you go looking for a picture, a story, or an update through mutual friends, your brain gets a tiny hit of hope or pain, and both of those keep the whole thing alive. That is not romance, that is maintaining the heartbreak. From now on, make one clear rule: no searching, no checking, no coming up with clever excuses to do the same thing under a different name. When that strong urge hits, say this out loud: I am not going to test my own pain. Then put your phone down, breathe slowly, and wait 30 seconds. Sounds small, but that tiny space is where you start getting your control back. Along with that, stop waiting for closure from the other person, because that is one of the oldest traps there is. A lot of people think they will finally move on after one perfect, deep, mature, emotional conversation. In real life, what usually comes is more confusion, more vague lines, more silence, or one message so underwhelming that it makes you want to ask, this is what has been taking up so much space in my mind? So create your own closure. Write a letter you are never going to send and start with this: the truth is. Then put everything in it: what hurt, what you hoped for, what you ignored, what you learned, and what you will not accept anymore. End it with one simple line: this chapter is over because I choose peace. Your mind needs to understand that the story is over, even if your heart is still reading the last page very slowly. After that comes the part that really changes everything: rebuilding your life without making that person the center of it. A lot of people try to just distract themselves, but distraction by itself is weak, because all it takes is one rainy Sunday and suddenly the sadness comes right back through the window without knocking. What works better is building 3 anchors into your day. Pick one physical anchor, one social anchor, and one progress anchor. It can be a walk, a workout, stretching, getting out of the house, having coffee with a friend, texting someone good to be around, starting something new, finishing something you have been putting off, or learning anything that reminds your brain your life is still moving. Once you build routine, your whole world stops revolving around memory. At this stage, it also helps to understand one thing: dreaming about that person, thinking about them out of nowhere, or having a setback does not mean it is fate. Your brain just hates unfinished business, so it keeps going back to the same topic like a teacher repeating the lesson nobody understood. It is not a cosmic sign, it is not the universe plotting something, it is not a soulmate sending emotional Wi-Fi. Most of the time, it is just your mind trying to organize a mess it has not fully accepted yet. That is why it helps to repeat this for a few days. I can care about what happened and still leave it in the past. It may sound too simple, but repetition teaches your brain far more than panic ever will. Healing does not happen all at once either. Some days you feel great, then the next day it feels like you got sent 3 steps backward. That does not mean it is not working. It just means you are human, not a robot with automatic updates. Instead of asking whether you have completely forgotten, start measuring it a different way. Did I think about it less today? Did I check less today? Did I hurt for less time today? Did I laugh at something without feeling guilty? That is real progress. At the end of the day, getting over someone you still love does not mean becoming cold, and it does not mean pretending you never felt anything. You do not need to hate anyone, and you do not need to create some fake personality of a person who healed in 2 weeks just to look strong. What needs to happen is much simpler. That person has to stop being the center, and you have to go back to that place. Your goals need to matter again, your peace needs to be in charge again, and your routine needs to carry more weight than the memory. There comes a point when the memory is still there, but it no longer controls your day, and that is when you know healing has really started. If this hit home, comment one thing you miss the most. Then subscribe, because heartbreak is already messy enough, and you might as well have company.